Hey guys, and welcome back to Mornings with Jazz. How you doing? Anyway, I want to apologize firstly for last week's video being a little bit late. I had it edited and everything, I just forgot to upload it, so whoops. But let's just get on with this video. So as you all know, I will talk about the weather first because that's all I can think about ever is the weather. And the weather's really off-putting recently. I was actually just saying the other day that it feels like summer's over and autumn started, which I don't mind because I quite like autumn, but it was raining so hard yesterday. I hope that's not what the weather's like today. It's kind of been raining and sunny today, so hopefully the rain just stops and it's just sunny. But the temperature has definitely dropped. You definitely need a jacket when you go outside now. That's why I'm dressed up all cozy. And that was a nice slide into what exactly it is I'm wearing. So I will have that linked in the description box below, as you all know. And I thought maybe I should start actually telling you what it is that I'm wearing. But for now, it'll be in the description box below. So if you are interested in exactly what it is, I'll just have links to the websites that I got them from because I'm a big online shopper. So most of these items I did order online and delivery was pretty quick, which is what I'm all about. Food. Now actually I don't have food today, but today I'm going to talk about the importance of H2O. I drink so much water and I swear I never used to drink water before, like maybe like 500 milliliters a day, and I never used to get thirsty, but now I drink, I would say between 2.5 to 3 liters a day, and I'm always thirsty. I just don't know what it is. No snacks today, but lots of water. Got to keep hydrated, especially when the weather's like this. But I'm not going to prolong my intro too much, even though I just basically did, because the video topic that I'm discussing today has so much detail and it's going to be super, super long. So warning, alert, disclaimer, this is a super long video if you hadn't gathered from all my previous videos, which I will have linked. I'll have my last video linked in the description box below, as well as a link to my channel, and I'll probably have a little I button. Oh crap, sorry, Siri is just going for it today. Oh my god. It's just basically been recording everything I've said in the past like 3 minutes. Oh. Anyway, I'll have it linked in the, if you press the little I annotation, and I'll have some of my videos linked up there. So if you're interested in watching any of my other videos or podcasts, they're more like podcasts, then I'll have the little I annotation right about now and you can check them out, and I'll have it again towards the end of the video, so you can just click on that at any point. So today we're going to be talking about what happened to Pan Am Flight 73. So Pan Am, if you don't know, is Pan American World Airways. And you don't really go on Pan Am flights anymore. I don't actually know if it's been liquidized, the company. I assume it's been liquidized, but the Pan Am Flight 73 was a Boeing 747, and it was actually hijacked on the 5th of September. And there were 360 passengers on board, as well as 19 crew members, all of which were from 14 different countries. The flight took off from Mumbai and it went to Karachi, and it was scheduled to go to Frankfurt and then JFK. And the flight actually only had about 26% of Indians on the flight, considering it was actually taking off from Mumbai, India. It had 2 stop-offs before it went to its final destination in JFK. On the 5th of September, 4 hijackers who were believed to be Pakistani men of the Abu Nidal organization, which it was associated with terrorist links, still is associated with terrorist links. So the 4 hijackers, dressed as Karachi airport security, boarded the plane with assault rifles, pistols, grenades, and many of the hijackers, well, I mean only 4 of them boarded, but most of them were wearing explosive belts. And bearing in mind there had been smooth flying from Mumbai to Karachi, the flight never actually got to leave from Karachi airport to head on over to Frankfurt and then on to New York to get to JFK. So at 6 o'clock local time, so that's Pakistani Standard Time, the 4 hijackers drove a vehicle through the airport security checkpoint towards the Pan Am flight. They stormed up the stairs because the doors had not been closed yet. All passengers had boarded, but the doors were still open. They stormed up the stairs, fired shots, and took control of the flight. Luckily, there was 2 flight attendants who were able to alert the cockpit crew, which allowed the pilot, co-pilot, and flight engineer to flee the plane through an escape hatch in the cockpit. That ultimately made sure and prevented the flight from taking off because there was nobody on board to actually fly the plane. And one of the flight attendants who actually alerted the cockpit was Neerja Banat, and she is a hero in this situation. And to be fair, I'm not going to talk much about her today, but if you are interested in learning more about this flight from a more emotional and more personal point of view, they actually have a movie called Neerja, Neerja. It's actually an Indian movie. It was released at Cannes Film Festival, and I believe it won an award, although I can't guarantee that, so you could check that up if you were interested. And you can check it out because some of it is actually in English and some of it's not, but I guess movies have subtitles, so it's not that hard to follow along. So if you're interested in learning more about this or seeing the details visually, then I would suggest checking out that movie. There's also some documentaries if you're more interested in a more factual perspective, but in the movie they talk about Neerja before the flight, who exactly she was, as well as on the flight, and how she impacted people on the flight and what exactly it was that she and other flight attendants on board did. All of that knowledge was passed on through the survivors of Pan Am Flight 733. So a short time later, after the 4 men had hijacked the plane, hijacker, okay, this is super long names, but you have to bear with me, Zayed Hassan Abd al-Latif Masood al-Safrani, but I'm just going to call him is it Safrini? It's Safrini. So I'm just going to call him Safrini because his name is super long. Safrini found out that the crew had actually weren't on board the plane. He couldn't identify this straight away because obviously the cockpit door would be closed and it would have to be opened from the inside, so he just assumed that they were holding out, but soon he realized that they weren't actually in the cockpit at all. And when he found this out, he was forced to negotiate with officials. Oh, I forgot my window, sorry. His plan was to get everybody all together in one area, so he got everybody in first class and business class on the Pan Am flight to move towards the back of the plane, and the people who were at the back forward, so essentially everybody was in the middle of the plane. The plane was almost full. There was a lot of people booked onto the flight, so there was loads of passengers on board. Like I said, there was 360 passengers and 19 crew members, and everybody was basically crammed into the center of the plane. Because there were so many people were sitting in aisles, in the galleys, in the door exits. It was really, really full. At 10 a.m, Safrini actually got a 29-year-old passenger on board Pan Am flight, Rajesh Kumar, who was a recently neutralized American citizen, to kneel in the doorway of the plane. He negotiated with many officials, but in particular, he negotiated with Viraf Daroga, who was the head of Pan Am operations in Pakistan. And he said to him that if the crew did not come back onto the plane within 15 minutes, he would shoot Kumar, and he would continue to do that until somebody sent crew onto the plane. However, he got impatient and he didn't wait the full 15 minutes, and he shot Kumar in the head and chucked him onto the tarmac from the plane doorway. So obviously, you know, planes are raised from the ground, and he just pushed him out the door once he'd been shot. And this shocked so many people because there was so many passengers inside the plane as well as crew members, and all the officials who knew that the Pan Am flight had been hijacked were all watching from a distance. The people in the air tower and air control and people who worked at the airport, as well as airport security and police, they all saw this happen, him get shot and get pushed out. But Kumar was still breathing when he got pushed out of the plane, so he could have survived. Unfortunately, he didn't survive and he died on his way to the hospital in Karachi. After this, Safrini asked the flight attendants on board the plane to collect every passenger's passports. So obviously they did. They went and started collecting the passports. However, one of the flight attendants, named Sunshine Vesuwala, believed that Americans would be singled out. So her and other flight attendants, upon her instruction, hid American people's passports under the seats, or they found ways to make it look like they were collecting them, but they didn't collect them. And when leadership of the hijackers found out that there were no Americans on board, Safrini actually intercommed a man named Michael John Thexton, who was British, and basically did the same threat as he did to Rajesh Kumar. However, this time Daroga said that a crew member was on board and he was able to use the cockpit radio to negotiate. They identified the crew member and they began to get the radio in the cockpit to work. I assume this crew member knew how to get into the cockpit. That's why they did that. In the movie, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but if you do watch it, then in the movie, this person's role is super risky at first because of Nirja herself. If you're interested to see why he didn't come forward first, then you should probably watch the movie. The hijackers basically conducted a stalemate all night. If you don't know what a stalemate is, it's basically like draw situation. So the hijackers couldn't go anywhere, but the police couldn't come inside. Anyway, during this stalemate, a flight attendant named Madhvi Baguna removed a page from the Boeing 747's manual. It was the page containing information on how to open the doors on the plane. And she slipped this page into a magazine and handed it to a passenger who was sitting near one of the doors and instructed him to read the instruction manual page, which she had slipped inside the magazines. At 2100 hours, also Pakistani Standard Time, the auxiliary power inside the plane shut down and all the emergency lights came on. And when this happened, they squeezed people together even more inside the plane because they wanted to be able to keep an eye on everyone. It was really dark inside the plane, so they needed everybody in the same area. So while the plane was in darkness, one of the hijackers that were near the first left door said a prayer and aimed his gun at the hijacker opposite to him, who was at the first right door, and aimed to shoot at his explosive belt. But because it was so dark, he missed. He didn't cause as much detonation as he would have if the lights were on, and his intention was to kill everybody on board the plane. That included himself, all the other hijackers, crew members, every passenger on board. Like I said, he failed, so that didn't actually happen. But when he did this, it startled the other hijackers, so the hijackers began shooting at passengers. Upon all this commotion, the flight attendant near the third left door opened the door. However, you know the emergency slide that normally pops out, it didn't actually deploy. So people actually started jumping out of the plane, and the plane was 15 feet off the tarmac. So people were really trying to save their life at this point, especially with all this open fire that was going on in the darkness. There was 4, I want to say, like, heroes in the situation, but a lot of people on board the plane were heroes, so I don't want to say that. But Dilip Bidichandi, Shireen Pawan, Renee Ruswanti and Sunshine Vesuwala could have been the first people off the plane. However, they stayed to help other people get off the plane, and all 4 of these people were actually flight attendants on the plane itself. The passenger who read the instruction manual near the third right door actually managed to open his door after reading the instructions, and the slide did deploy on that, which meant that people could get out faster. So a lot more passengers were able, especially young children, were now able to get down onto the tarmac without injuring themselves. Upon all this commotion, the final few people were leaving the plane. Nirja Banat was actually badly injured, and she was carried out of the plane onto the slide by Dilip Bichandi and Sunshine, and in total 21 people were killed on board Pan Am Flight 73, including Nirja Banat. She did die after off the plane on the ground. She did die, but not only were 21 people killed, but over 100 people were actually injured because of the open fire and the poor conditions that they were kept in with. So the hijacking actually lasted 17 hours, and when everybody was free, it was 9 hours and 30 minutes, so 9:30 in the evening, Pakistani Standard Time. Obviously, it was hugely emotional for so many people. Like I said, there was people from 14 different countries were in this plane, so it was really terrifying for people who did not know where their family was. And obviously, like I said, 21 people died. People were really emotionally struck by this, and the aftermath of the flight actually reflects this. So on July 6th, 1988, 5 Palestinian men were convicted and sentenced to death, including Safrini. However, after their sentence was changed from death to life in prison, which is still terrible. Safrini was actually handed to the FBI in 2001, and in 2005, in the US, he was sentenced to a 160-year term in prison. And while he was interrogated, he claimed that he did everything he did because of the Abu Nidal organization, which I mentioned earlier. However, this is something that really shocked me, and I didn't know this until I started researching into this case. The other 4 Palestinian men that were arrested but not extradited to the US, they actually escaped from prison in Rawalpindi in January of 2008. And it was believed that the motive for all this killing was because of they needed a plane and hostages to take to Cyprus and Israel to pick up Palestinian prisoners that were being held in both of those countries. And it's actually been claimed that Libya actually sponsored the attack, although no confirmations could be made about that, so I don't really know. But that just brings so many political motives into it, and it just implicates a lot of people who were high in power and authority in Libya. So that's a bit of a touchy subject to touch on. I mentioned Nirja Banat a lot, and I know she's not the only hero in this story, but Nirja was actually the senior flight purser on the flight, and she was actually the youngest person to be awarded a higher Indian bravery award called the Ashoka Chakra, and she also received a bravery award in both Pakistan and the US. So people acknowledged that she was a really vital person in ensuring that people were safely off the plane, and she risked her life, as well as I mentioned Sunshine Veshiwala quite a lot throughout this depiction of what happened, and also Dilip. I mentioned quite a few people. Basically, I just wanted people to know that you don't really hear about hijackings often because they're quite difficult to pull off, but I don't actually know how these people managed to get past airport security and do all of this. I mean, I know it was like 1980 something, or the 1980s. Oh, I'm so sorry. But it's still quite difficult to get past armed airport security in Pakistan, in Karachi especially, I assume, with so many international flights leaving there. It must be hard to get past security like that, so there must be some inside jobs and inside people, but they never investigated anything like that. I'm sure it was just devastating for everybody, especially Pan Am. because this aircraft, so the Pan Am aircraft, the Boeing 747-121, was actually passed around a lot. So it went from Pan Am to Evergreen, back to Pan Am, back to Evergreen. Before, after the last time Evergreen got it, they just scrapped it like a month or a week later or something. So they haven't like memorialized Flight 73 in any way. Should they have? Maybe, because 21 people died, heroes died on board, people who were helping out, people who received bravery awards. But do you really need to prolong something, or prolong discussion on something that's not great? Also, why did I not hear about these 4 other people escaping if they did such a terrible thing and they had life in prison? Why have we not hearing about it? I feel like people try not to talk about other things like this. If you liked this video, then give it a thumbs up, share it, because I think that's the main key reason I make these videos, is to raise awareness. So if you could share this on, I don't know, whatever you want, but my main social media is Twitter, so share it on Twitter, tag me in it if you want. If you don't want, that's fine. Make sure people are hearing about it. If you don't share, I don't know, there's loads of ways to share. You can share on WhatsApp now. Just do it. Just share the video, make sure people know about it. If you want to research more into the flight, then like I said, you can watch the movie, which probably won't give you all the details like in full depth, but you'll get to see a visualization of what happened. You can watch a documentary, which I think is just called Pan Am 73, but I can't be quoted on that, just saying. Or you could just check out some news articles or Wikipedia. I mean, I know Wikipedia gets really bad credit because everybody can edit it, but at the bottom of Wikipedia they have all the sources, so the bibliography of where people got the information, so you can check out the sources at the bottom of the Wikipedia page. I'll have the Wikipedia page linked in the description box below, and you can just go onto that and go onto the sources at the bottom to get more accurate information if you don't trust everything that is on the Wikipedia page. Leave me a comment if you know of any other hijackings that I should cover in the future, or if you know of some information that I missed out that you think would be really good to mention. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because I make new podcasts every Wednesday and Sunday. Is that right? Yeah, Wednesday and Sunday. And if I don't, then it'll be Thursday and Monday. If I don't then I don't know about that after. But yeah, please check it out. So remember to keep free thinking, keep an open mind, and I guess I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.